Tomorrow we're going to take a test over slope, direct variation, and non-proportional equations. I'm going to run through this test review with you. Make sure you don't have any questions before we do that. Keep in mind that slope is in fact m. It is your rise over your run in a graph. It is also change in y over change in x. Direct variation is going to be a y equals mx or a y equals kx equation, where k is, again, it's just your slope, it's your y over x ratio. This is always on a proportional situation. And then on non-proportional, y equals mx plus or minus b, where again m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. That is the value of y when x is 0. So if we look at this first one, a teacher can grade 5 papers every 3 minutes. Draw a graph to represent this. Make sure you label. Please pay attention to your axes as far as what do those numbers represent. For this situation, we only need quadrant 1, and we have papers every 3 minutes. That actually represents our slope, 5 papers every 3 minutes, and we know that slope is change in y over change in x. So our independent variable is in fact minutes, and our dependent variable is papers. This is a continuous situation because you can grade half a paper, and we can very well, so we 0, 0. This is going to be a direct variation situation. At 3 minutes, it's 5 papers. At 6 minutes, it's 10. And at 9 minutes, it would be 15, and so on. So you can choose your scale. Maybe you want to count, every other one by 3s, every other one by 5s. Do pay attention to your scale, especially on that test, because you want to make sure that you are counting by the appropriate thing when you're counting your slope. So here is my graph. Okay. Salesman calculates his monthly income in dollars d of x using the function d of x equals 1/5 x plus 750. Okay, so this is your slope, not the x, just the 1/5. And this is going to be your constant, your b, your y-intercept, in which x represents the dollar value. So dollars is independent of cars sold in a month. Okay. And what does the slope of the function mean? So d of x is income for every dollar value he sells. So 1/5, again, this is change in y over change in x. So d of x is money made. He makes $1 for every dollar value he sold. So for $5 sold. So we can say he makes $1 for every $5 he sells. So make sure you can identify those independent and dependent variables. Put those variables on your numbers so you can see what it means. Customers of a convenience store recorded the number of customers, or owner of a convenience store recorded the number of customers store from 5 to 11 a.m. who were served coffee and the number of pots they were consuming. So number of pots, this is number of pots of coffee, and this is number of customers that got cut off. Sorry about that. Write an equation to represent the relationship between number of customers, that's our y, who were served coffee, and the number of pots. This is our x. So again, independent, dependent. So we need to find, if we're going to write an equation, y equals mx plus or minus b, we need to find that slope. So I can say this is plus 6 customers for 1 pot of coffee. So there's my slope. Slope is 6 over 1, change in y over change in x. Be careful not to flip that around. And then my b, well, if I worked backwards, or I can even see that 3 times 6 is 18, 2 times 6 is 12. So that means my b is going to be 0. So this is a direct variation. You can also write y equals 6x. We don't have a b value. What will be the slope in the table? What will the slope represent? So first we have to find it. Plus 3 for every 1 month So our slope is, and again, if you're writing your units, it will help you, 3 inches for 1 month. So what does this represent? It says the tree grows 3 inches every month. That's what the slope represents. Write the function modeled below. Again, you're writing your m, you're writing your b, and then you're going to plug it into your equation. So I can see my b is here. That's my y-intercept, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And my slope is a positive. It is going up. So be careful there. Sometimes we don't pay attention to our direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a positive because we went up. So it's my rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. That is also a positive. So this simplifies to 1. So y equals, you can write 1x or just x minus 5. That is your equation. This is a non-proportional equation. It does not go through the origin. Math Club is buying t-shirts for its members. Clothing company quoted following prices. So 10 shirts is $75 and so on. Using the table will be the cost of 75 shirts. Well, in order to do that, we need to write our equation. So we can find our slope, right? Change in y over change in x from 105 to 75 is 30, which we know is 6. So y equals 6x. Now we don't have a b. We can do a couple of things. I can go ahead and plug in some numbers. I can say 6 times 10 plus something equals 75. Or I can work backwards. I know that this is plus 10, right? So if this is plus 5 is 30, then plus 10 is going to be 60. So something plus 60 is 75. I would get 15. That's my b value. You can also do this. 60 plus something is 75. Subtract the 60. B is 15. All right. So now we need 75 t-shirts. That is our x. So we have 6 times 75 plus 15. So we can use our handy dandy calculator here. And you can plug that in. So when I come to my calculator here, I know you can do this in your head, but work smarter, not harder. So 75 shirts is going to be $465. Okay. What is the slope? Again, pay attention to the direction. We know this is going to be a negative slope. So we can count here to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So down 5 is a negative, 1, 2, 3. Right is a positive, right? Change in y over change in x. We can also write rise over run. So we went down 5 and over 3. They're not even asking you for the y-intercept there. The slope of a line, okay, you have two options here. You can make a mini table, and you can do your change in y over your change in x. So we can say our slope is 4 over 3 negative. You can also put that negative in the middle. You can also put it in the numerator. If you wanted to use your formula, x1, y1, x2, y2, we would say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and x1 is a negative, so you end up with a double negative here. 5 minus 1 is 4, negative 6 plus 3 is a negative 3. So either way, you're going to get that answer. So choose which way works best for you. Domain and range of the function. These are dots, ladies and gentlemen. So this is discrete, which means we are going to use a list. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm at negative 4 here. So x such that negative 4. This one is at negative 2. This is at 0. This is at 2. And this is at 4. You can also make a table of values for this and look at your X values. Line segment on the graph shows the altitude of a landing plane from its time the wheels are lowered to the time it touches the ground. Describe the slope of the line. Well, it's going down, so we know the slope is negative. If we were at 10,000 feet, this one is kind of tricky to see because the lines are really hard, but you can say negative 10,000 to get to 0 over, we could call that, it's not quite 3.5, so this is a little bit tricky, 3.5. If you can say that this is negative, you're good to go. Hourly rate of the car repairman based on the graph. So hourly rate is going to be your slope, okay, or your rate of change. So we can count here. Again, this is where we were talking about our scale. So this is a half is at 25. So we would want to look at that whole number. So this is $50 is our Y over X is 1. We could even write our coordinate like this. So Y over X is, this is a proportional situation, so we could find that constant of variation, 50 over 1, so $50 per hour. Direct variation, Y varies directly with X, just means that it is proportional. Remember, this is another way of saying proportional. So Y is 16, X is 10, write the equation. So this is that Y equals KX equation, and K equals Y over X. Well, if I have Y over X, Y is 16 over X is 10. You do need to simplify. If you are struggling with that, remember you can put it in the calculator. Don't put a decimal, and it will simplify a fraction for you. So my K is 8 over 5, but it wants an equation. So Y equals, we're going to put this 8 over 5 in place of the K and put our X. The exchange rate for English pounds to US dollars. So look at the order. That means this is Y and dollars is X is 7.65 pounds for $5. How many English pounds was $7 hamburger cost? Okay, so we're going to do Y over X, pounds, 7.65 pounds for $5, and we have a $7 hamburger. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find that constant of variation, or you can think back to 7th grade. You can cross multiply, divide, 7.65, change that so you can see the calculator a little bit better, times 7, that did not work on me, technical difficulties. So 7.65 times 7 divided by 5 gives us $10.71 in, or not in dollars, pounds. Constant of variation again, Y over X. So 10 over 2 is 5 would be your K value. Don't overthink these. D varies directly with K, so D is representing Y, K is representing X. And the constant of variation. What is the value of K when D is 247? Okay, so again, Y over X, in this case, that is the same as D over K. Constant variation is 3.8. So if our equation is Y equals KX, you have a couple of options you can do here. So D is 247. This is our constant of variation. I don't like that they used K because constant of variation is also K. How would we solve this? We would divide. So 247 divided by 3.8 is 65. So what is it? So K equals 65. Mariah makes refrigerator magnets $3 each. Relationship the money makes. M is the number of magnets. N is the described by the function. So write a dependent statement. All right, so M is the money and N is the number of magnets. So that means that our independent is magnets and our dependent is money made. A dependent statement just has your dependent variable depends on your independent variable. These are words, ladies and gentlemen. So the money she makes, money made, depends on number magnets sold. Y varies directly with X. Write the function that represents the relationship. Again, Y function is an equation, ladies and gentlemen. So we're writing Y equals KX. K is Y over X. Don't overthink this. You have a calculator. 15 over 2 is Y. 20 is X. You can put this in the calculator, ladies and gentlemen. Control divide. 15 over 2. Arrow out. Divide 20. 3 over 8. That's our K value. So Y equals KX. So Y equals 3 over 8x. Let us know if you have any questions. Have a great evening.